mine was a very calculated fight in that sense, which I realized later that it was calculated because I heard so many arguments after my case was introduced. And see, lawyers have the duty to make people understand when their rights are getting violated. People don't know what the rights are. They think the government is an all-powerful government. It is not all-powerful government. The first step they have to do is they have to establish a research institute in the state of Himachal, where there will be a dedicated group of scientists who will sit and they will be dedicated to this plant all around the year. There are two things. First is cultivation of the plant and second is collection of the plant. Collection is of the wild cannabis which is growing there, and it is only collection because you can hand out licenses in a controlled manner. You can give a piece of land in a controlled manner. So if they copy the policies of other states like Uttarakhand, it's a horrible policy. Right now we have got much better understanding and we have got a result of how Uttarakhand has also failed in a lot of situations because of the bad policy it has. So what I want right now is that they first of all they establish a dedicated research institute, and they provide this cannabis plant to these scientists. They say that the good lawyer is the one who knows the law, but a better lawyer is one who knows the judge. And one who knows the judge is the one who not knows him through some shady means. It is the one who sits in the court and understands the psyche of the judge. This is the idea right now. So farmers are on board. I have got like 8 lakh farmers of 33 panchayats. They have given me their signatures, and I can get more farmers. Actually, I have spoken to a lot of millers also, and the more farmers also I can get.
Your journey, like you have come across and you have spoken about it with the government, you have spoken about it with the lawyers, with the industrialists, with the people as well. What are the bottlenecks exactly that you feel like in all these sections?
People just accept the status quo and they are very comfortable with status quo. Everybody, this is a problem in thinking. So that is a very inherent problem. So like how people think and how they should be thinking and how they should be challenging the status quo, and they should be looking for reason. Basic strategical issues which I found was that first of all the governments are scared that if they do something for the plant, they will be categorized as that they are showing leniency to the drug market and to the drug problem, and probably they are trying to spoil the generations. So they don't want, they want to make their image that they are hard on drugs, which is what the government is doing right now here also. So when we went to the court, this was our main objective, that NDPS Act is not stopping the politicians from making the legislation and taking a step, because this was not that clear before this order was passed. When the Himachal High Court passed this order that you can make a policy and there are exceptions in NDPS Act, before this there was no order like this. In the 35 years of history, this is the only positive order you have got on NDPS Act. There is no order apart from this which has said anything positive about cannabis. So everybody has got to jail before this. Of course, we have had a history of 2000 years of usage before this NDPS Act, but for that to show to anybody, we have to first take out their own prejudices against this plant, because for them they have seen only the bad part of the society consuming this plant, because it's mostly the criminal drug market. A lot of criminals are involved with it. The criminals are dealing with a lot of other things also. They might be dealing in arms, they might be dealing with heroin, or they might be dealing with a lot of other things which are much more dangerous. So the part of the society which is involved with this plant right now has also given this plant a negative outlook because of the kind of characters which have been involved. The courts have had this one problem, that we will not do it. It will be the government which will do it, because it is such a big decision to make. There are 2 judges who are sitting in the court. They say that it is a policy decision just because of the fact that we are just 2 people sitting and they are changing the whole for everybody. They are saying that if you want to change, you vote the government in which wants to do this for you. Why will we do it? You have a policy decision. I say that it's not a policy decision. There are separate arguments for that. But I can understand from where the government, the judges also come when they came in these other cases of Mr. Aditya Baradhakur's case and this other case also, Mr. Prashant, this law student who filed the case. So in their cases, they were very clear that you are filing a case in Bombay and Delhi. Who are there? There is no farmer. You have not brought any patient. You have come here and you have given us some research and you are telling us that like you legalize the use of it. So who are you? First of all. Second is, can we do it? Who are we to do it? So there are two questions which the judges face. So these have to be dealt. Right now, I've taken 8 lakh people to the court, and I've simultaneously taken the research, and also now I've taken the testimonials of the patients who are also affected. So you have to strengthen the hands of the judges so that they understand they have to be standing up against the society and the government to protect their rights. Your recreational right to be smoking cannabis, can two judges do this and come out and say that you have a right to privacy, you can recreationally use it. I don't see it happening. This happened in South Africa though, under right to privacy, and we have a right to privacy judgment. So theoretically it is possible that it can happen. So you have to understand this, that the society makes judges. Judges are not coming from heaven to give justice. They are coming from the society and they are part of the society. They have their prejudices, the same prejudices which politicians have, same prejudices which your mother will have. Activists have not understood this thing, that they have to be fought separately. Every right has to be fought separately. Now, I don't know why they want to mix these things, mix the right of medicine and mix the right of clothing, mix the right of farmers with the recreational right. This is the problem with activists. With the judges, the problem is that they are also product of the society. Their job is to figure out rights, and if the right is made out, they have to protect it. The judges sometimes think that heavens will fall if we give a judgment. But even if heavens fall, justice has to be done. This is the rule of law. This is in theory. And the third is a politician. They want to impress the public for votes. Their intention is power. So they want to sustain power and they want to remain in power. They don't care about rights. They don't care about other things. For them, the ultimate thing is that if public is happy or not. The courts can make public unhappy. See, that's why I went to the court and I won also in the court, partly. But because courts are protectors of rights, so they can make public unhappy. They don't care. They don't have to win elections. But politicians have to win elections. For one issue, they cannot sacrifice other things. They might be good politicians. I'm not saying that politicians are bad or they are fighting for power. That is not a bad thing because that is their job. They need to maintain power. So they have to sense public perception. They have 100 issues with them. So there is one issue is cannabis. So they have to see whether this issue is worth it or not. It might be very worth it for you, or they have 100 issues. They have to provide water to certain families. They have to provide roads. They have 100 issues to deal with. So they can let go of your issue also. If it is not of too much hype is not there or too much demand is not there. For politicians, I showed them the demand. So many, this 8 lakh people I'm repeating again and again is because for politicians it's easy to understand them that there is demand. For courts, it doesn't matter. Somebody is telling me you would take, we all will go to the court, or the whole country will go to the court. Nothing matters in court. 1 lakh people go to the court tomorrow, tell the court that we want Muslims to have no voting right. Court will say, go, we will dismiss your petition with cost and put you also behind bars. Even if there are 1 lakh people, it doesn't matter because it has to be right is all there in the constitution. Courts work through the constitution. Politicians work through people. So there is no demand for cannabis. And in recreational cannabis, I don't know how people are demanding it. There is no demand for medicinal cannabis also. Now, farmers have stood up and they have started demanding because its economical right is getting affected, and that's why politicians have heard them. Otherwise, the best would have been some cancer patients and epilepsy patients. So yeah, these are the challenges.
So actually, we also stay in touch with a lot of farmers, and we also meet those farmers also who are who are not in favor of regulation or legalization. Why? Because there is a reason to understand that also. Like they don't feel that the system which will be provided by the government or the regulation model it won't be as financially viable for them as it is right now. Like for example, if we talk about Uttarakhand model, so Uttarakhand model is not able to provide people that much of financial income as they had expected.
Yeah.
So for it to be a success, we need to frame the like legalization or regulation model in such a way that even farmer, like, he is motivated to leave the black trade and like join hands with the government for the white trade, and something like that kind of a shot is really required.
Yeah, they have to make market. This is something which they have to do. It cannot be the same thing which they did earlier with peas, when they grew peas there and they had a loss. So they have to make a policy which is successful. They have to make the business people successful. If the business people are successful, then only farmers will get rewarded. So now the market has to be such that farmers can earn a lot of money. This plant has the potential to make them earn a lot of money, because you can actually export stuff from which is being made. A lot of demand is there all over. If you are replacing cotton and if you are providing these medicines, there can be huge amount of money which can be earned, and a model can be made that farmers earn more money than what they are earning right now with zero risk. So this is very important thing, that risk will go and legitimacy will be there in their job. See, for risk and legitimacy, there is already we have an upper hand, that we will eliminate the risk and we will give their business a legitimacy. They will have name, reputation, stature in the society. Third is that money. Now the policy has to be such that the farmers are the huge beneficiaries of this policy. See, if they are collecting the wild cannabis, now the collection time they can get money. Then the product of the collection which will be made, that directly can be directly can go to the cooperative which is dealing with it. So all this modeling can be done. Right now you are not earning any money. You cannot say that you are earning money from black market, because that is something which is not allowed, and that is something they will crack down. But like what we can do is that we can provide them a choice. So now this choice has to be provided. See, now if it is economically viable for them, it will reduce your money which you are spending on the your drug control activities of NDPS. You will save so much money there, so you might as well provide them the money and provide them the choice of life which is better than this life which they are doing right now, which is so risky for them. So if you are eliminating that risk, you can also give them a choice, because now your whole force which is going towards the controlling of this drug market, that you are saving money there also as a state, as a government. Whole idea should be to provide choices. Like if I have a choice to be a drug dealer, I have a choice to become a doctor, I will take this choice. So this choice has to be provided. Right now there is no choice. See, there are other problems also. There is no playgrounds for children in mountains. I'm from the mountains. I face this problem in Shimla. There is no recreational activities. That's why the people go for recreational drugs, because recreation is a need of a human being. Either he plays sports or he does education, or when he's not doing anything, nothing is provided in his village, he does drugs to escape, because this is a escapist means of like escaping reality. That's why people do marijuana, cigarettes or alcohol or anything else, is to escape reality, because the reality itself is not sufficient itself to sustain them. So that choice has to be provided, and environment has to be created where people are not motivated towards external stimulus which is harmful for their health. Healthy alternatives are available, and that is the way to control the drug problem also eventually. They are doing is not sustainable, and it has proven to be not sustainable. You take an example of Portugal. Portugal was one country, it was a drug corridor for the whole world for heroin. The situation went so bad in 2002. They had the highest increase of HIV because of the spread of needles and sharing of needles, because it was a heroin corridor. The heroin was going from Afghanistan through Portugal to Brazil and America, and it was a corridor. 90% of the population was under the threat of getting HIV positive. Then the government made this radical decision of decriminalizing every drug, even heroin. They decriminalized heroin, and they set up clinics to provide heroin. First of all, to stop the spread of HIV so that they get clean needles. Secondly, they will provide a reformation in a way that they will bring them down from heroin to morphine or to a lesser drug, and they will side by side, they will counsel them, provide them a support system, and probably eventually hope for them to leave the drugs. Drug dealers are addicts. The meaning of addiction is that they cannot help themselves. You have not nurtured them as a society to have better choices. So now, once you have failed, you are failing again by punishing them. This is the eventual understanding of drugs in outside countries, and people should read about it. Who are the ones who are trying to control it, and who the ones who are trying to tell us that penal provisions are the only ones which can control drugs only, and we are the ones who are trying to spoil the society. They should, like, first of all, be ready to debate it, and second, they should understand what is the others, what are the experiences of other countries, and thirdly, they should understand the experience of their own country before the act. Were there any drug dealers, or was there any drug addiction problem in India before 1985 of cannabis? There is only one report there of Hemp British Commission. That is a positive report in favor of cannabis, and there is no other report or mention of any text in India for 2000 to 3000 years where they have said that this plant has done certain things, or society has been destroyed, or there is some problem the society was facing. The problem has started after 85. Black market has started after 85, and this has happened with everything which has been prohibited. This happened with alcohol in 34 in the US, when this Al Capone, the gangster, was there. He started holding alcohol. He was an outcome of a prohibitory tactics of the government. So what prohibition does is it creates gangsters, criminals, and criminals then create more criminals because they influence children. Children go to a criminal to buy marijuana. He gets introduced to other things. Apart from drugs, he gets introduced to criminals. That also enhances and makes a society more dangerous place. If we just confine to Himachal Pradesh only has this plant, and this plant has so many uses, and this plant can be channelized into so many uses. Right now, the drug market is only controlled by criminals. What I want is that the government plays some positive role in this market. By playing that positive role, it can alleviate the situations of the farmers, provide them the choices, and these choices should be so good that their children have playgrounds to play in. They have good education, they have money to set up hospitals there, and eventually they have a better life choices to make rather than become a drug dealer. Eventually, it is going to be the best thing which will happen to the state. The people should understand it.
So far, if there are any statistical records with you, so how many arrests have been made so far in terms of cannabis? Is there any record by the government?
Actually, I mentioned this record in my petition. I don't remember the numbers, but in my petition, I have mentioned the record from 2008 to 2017 of issued by the NDPS department of the arrests made in different years. NDPS department comes out with the arrests it makes, and there's a record which is available online, and you can find it anywhere. It has been increasing dramatically from past 12-15 years. So all their policies, they have nothing to show for it. See, I am not blaming the NDPS department. They are doing a lot of work. They have to do because they have gotten orders from up there, and there are a lot of good officers in it, and they are doing their job very efficiently. It's not about them. It is about the whole world which has been created in which they are operating. But that world itself is unjust. So the world which has been created by this act is an unjust world where neither the drug dealers are getting caught, the addicts are not getting taken care of. They are also being estranged by the society, and these officers are also made to do work which is fruitless because the drug market is increasing. Honest people living in those villages, they don't have an alternative to work on anything else. And sixth is the patients who can get benefit from this plant. They are also not getting the benefit. So there is no reason being provided of continuing with this activity where no benefit is being gained by anybody.
Right now, Himachal government has promised to act upon the order which was passed by the court. We have been waiting for the policy. So what is their take on it? Final take.
What has happened is, first there was an order passed by the High Court. They said that the government should look into framing of this policy. If this can be made, research which has been done in the petition, that should be considered. This was the first order. Then there was a second order. They asked me to bring more research on it. They said that what are the economic benefits which are happening in different areas. You give us the projections and tell us whatever is happening in rest of the countries, and you tell us what benefit our farmers can have. So I had arranged meetings of these companies, and I called these different companies, and I called different people to and I encouraged them to go and meet the excise commissioner and other officers like the agriculture minister and also the forest. See, main person to do this is the excise commissioner, so everybody should go there and meet him and try to explain him. The problem which I have faced is that these executive officers, they keep on changing. So I went for one or two of them, then they keep on changing in every 5-6 months. So I have to explain it to that person from the scratch. The one person even understood it very properly, and he was coming out with the policy, and very good policy, much better than Uttarakhand and everything. But then he got also changed, and now there is another one who has come. 2-3 people have changed, the excise commissioners. So what was doing was that they were telling the government to look into this again and again, and I was also building the case, calling people from outside and building the research and trying to figure out how the policy can be framed. And I also framed a draft policy and we gave it to them. They had 3-4 models in front of them, and they were positive from the start. Not from the start, actually after the second order. So after that, when these farmers and all these panchayats joined, then even Chief Minister came out. My counselling, I did this meeting with the farmers in Manali. Actually, after that, the very next day, the Chief Minister made a statement in the media. You can see it on the internet. He made a statement. It was around May, June, I think, last year. We are going to pass a policy. In the media, he said that. Then the Agriculture Minister came out. He said it in the media. Then there were many reports in the media where government people started coming out and made these statements. Then they came in the court. The case was listed in the court, and the court was a little strict at that time. And it said that you make a policy within 8 weeks. That time I had made 2 DVDs and I had submitted 8,000 pages of research. They said that you look into this new research also which has been done, because I had studied the projections of different companies in Canada and America. So they said that you go through this and within 8 weeks you come out with a policy. But then we also understand that the government, if it is showing the positive sign and it is not being adversarial in the court, you cannot push it too much. But eventually I will be pushing it. Last what I have heard is that they said that we will be coming out with a policy in the winter session, which also passed. And there were certain mentions, there were certain companies which were called and they were trying to sign memorandums of understanding. And there was a news which I received, talks going on with some companies from Netherlands and Dutch companies, and also companies from Canada which they are called and they want to set up something in Batti. But the government goes back and forth 100 times before it is ultimately done. So now everything is shut. After this COVID-19 situation ends and society is back on its feet, probably when the court functioning is also normal, then we will start. Because right now we cannot pressurize government because it is involved in much higher priority tasks than this. So we are just trying to build things to help the government in future. So with this talk also, probably a lot of other companies, a lot of other stakeholders, they will also join in and come here and try to help the state. And government has to also understand that all these stakeholders which are coming, they have to provide a platform for them. They should listen to them very properly. All these companies, they should listen to them very properly. They should have certain scientists. Scientists are the most important right now. They have to start off with the scientists, because that can really push things forward. If we have some scientists working on this plant in the state and they are trying to figure out what kind of a plant is here and what can be cultivated and what cannot be cultivated and what can be collected. What can be cultivated is the plant which doesn't have narcotic properties. Forget the percentage. And we want collection of this wild cannabis, research to an extent that we have to find out strains which can help in different diseases, and there might be certain strains which are not detected till now. There might be certain diseases which it can be treating, which we don't know because there is no research on the plant which is there in Malana. There is CBD, there is some other cannabinoids, CBC, I don't know. There's so many different types of them, and the world is also new in researching it. So we cannot depend upon the research of Canada and Israel and everybody else. We have to have our own scientists and pioneer this research. We have to tell the world what is the disease which should be cured by this cannabinoid. Cannabinoids can cure diseases. There is no doubt about it. So that is sufficient enough to give our scientists the liberty to research on this plant, because right to research and right to scientific research is the most basic right. It's even higher than the right of medicine, because how will you get the medicine till the time there won't be any research? It is a right, it is evolution which we are talking about. How can you stop evolution? So research and knowledge cannot be stopped by any law. Then constitution is very powerful to protect it. So scientists are the first ones to be engaged here. Second ones are the industry leaders, and they both have to work for the betterment of the farmers. And farmers then have to make such choices of life that their children have a good life, not like criminal.
Okay. All right, Deven. So I would like to conclude this interview by saying that so far we can wish that Himachal Pradesh has a better policy than what we have in Uttarakhand, which is in favor of everybody, like in favor of farmers, in favor of patients, as well as in favor of governments as well, and the companies also. And you are the torchbearer from the legal side here, and we wish you the best for your future endeavors. So anything if you want to add in the end as a message to the people who will be our audiences, who will be watching you. So if you have anything to say to them, please tell us.
I will just say things to Himachali people is that like they should be the ones who should be demanding this research institute in Himachal on dedicated to this plant, because this plant is growing in abundance in this state, and we need the best minds to sit and research this plant for its other uses. Your drug problem will get satisfied, and your economic problem will get satisfied, and there might be certain patients who might get also medicines from it. So you should be demanding research, and nobody can stop you from demanding that. Not even the courts, not even this government. Anybody, the right of research is a very, very strong right which is set in stone, because research is something which is not evil. It is what you do with that research is evil. So always demand for knowledge and always respect knowledge. Be very critical of the status quo. Don't take everything on its face. Try to analyze it. Have a way of thinking. Ask questions.
The first important aspect of looking at a thing is you have to critically analyze everything. It is not an open and shut case that even if there is a law which says it is illegal, it means it is bad. Even 377 gay rights were illegal. Now it doesn't shut our mind. So this is the first thing which we have been taught in the law school, that you don't shut your mind.